Welcome to the NSS webinar series. We have many special guests today because we are going to be talking about the NSS Convention 2022 in Rapid City. I want to first introduce Carol Tiederman, who is our Convention Division Chief. Carol, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. And it's my pleasure to introduce Adam Weaver, the NSS Administrative Vice President, and Chris Pelzarski, the Chair of the 2022 Convention, who are going to be telling you all the wonderful things to expect this summer.
So before they begin, I want to remind everyone, please put your questions in the chat. We'll be answering questions at the end of this webinar.
Okay, so here we go.
Yeah,
all right.
Let's take it away, Adam.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I think the first slide is us introducing ourselves. So why don't we go to that slide?
All right.
So Adam and I are the presenters tonight. I'm Chris Pelzarski. I'm the 2022 convention chairman, as Carol said, also the chair of the Pasapa Grotto, which is the local grotto in the Black Hills where convention is being held. And Adam put on a couple other facts on there. If you want to know about those, you can ask in the chat.
Right.
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, and as Carol mentioned, I'm the AVP, and I'm also the vice president of the Pasapa Grotto, which is the local grotto where the convention is going to be held, as well as the Black Hills Caves and Nature Conservancy, which we'll talk about a little bit in this slide. Also, the picture here is not from South Dakota, unfortunately. All right, so what's going on in the Black Hills? So the Black Hills, as I mentioned, the Pasapa Grotto is our local grotto. Chris is the chair, I'm the vice chair. We have a very active cave conservancy that just purchased some caves in the last few years. And the Black Hills is really a heavy project caving area. And so I listed here some of the project caves we have on here. So there's kind of a lot going on in the caving community in the Black Hills.
And actually, it's interesting, Adam, I don't think you've read the welcome letter that I wrote for the guidebook, but I actually kind of touch on project caving in that welcome letter, and how interestingly in the Black Hills we don't really call it project caving. I know that's kind of what project caving is a term that I learned after I'd been caving for several years, and I was doing project caving, but people called it that. I'm like, what's that? So that's one unique thing about the Black Hills. However, I also don't want people to be intimidated to go caving here, because just because we do project caving, there's easy project caving, and we do also do recreational trips. We like to have fun also. Just want to make sure we get that out there.
Yeah. So, again, the grotto, like I mentioned, it's been around since 1955. And they're kind of the host and official host when you need people working for convention. They're most likely from the grotto, So it's a great fun group. It's growing. Renee Ohms, who's in this picture, is in the grotto. She likes pseudomites, as you can tell.
And Renee won the Lubicki Award last year.
Yeah. So it's a fun grotto. And again, the Black Hills Cave and Nature Conservancy, big part of the Black Hills. When you guys come to the convention, you'll get the chance to go see the Dom Springs Preserve, which has 7 caves. There's lakes in the caves. There's surface springs. It's a kind of a long, skinny preserve in a canyon. It's a beautiful limestone canyon. So definitely a great part of the Black Hills. And they're also hosting, you'll see on the schedule later, a carnival on Thursday night at convention, like a fundraising carnival with a fire dancer and all kinds of fun things. So their group you'll definitely get to meet in person when you guys come here. Okay, so one thing that I thought it was important to remind everyone, because there has not been an in-person convention for 2 years, is this is the National Caving Convention, the NSS convention. So it's not just some regional event. It brings the international caving community to us in America. It's regional groups, the national groups all come here together, and it's a great place to showcase the work you've been done or see the work that everyone else is doing. In the U.S. or across the world. It's where you can meet new people from all over and make new connections and kind of learn a lot of things you didn't know you didn't even know. So, Chris, do you have any
Yeah, I was going to say, of course, caving happens at every convention, but I was really surprised when I went to the Montana convention in 2018. That was 2018, right? I think.
Yeah.
When I went to that convention, I was surprised there was caving available. I didn't go caving at the convention at all, and like a lot of people that I was there with didn't go caving, and we still had a great time. Of course, caving is something you can definitely do, and we'll have that available. But yeah, there's a lot to conventions if you've never been to one. They're very, it's a great place to make connections, get to know people.
Yeah.
And we have a great community here, so you get to know our local people. The local caving community here is not. It's kind of somewhat disconnected from the national community because we're in our South Dakota is kind of a little island. So
yeah, and there it is. Yeah, and as you can see,
where South Dakota is.
Yeah, if you can see, there's that little dot of green in the middle of the plains because we are like a little island, and that's ecologically as well. So there's a lot of species that live here that don't live anywhere within 400 miles of where we are. So so this is where South Dakota is. If you don't know exactly where you're thinking about going here, and I put this next thing here just for fun. So South Dakota is actually, the Black Hills has the geographic center of the United States. So Belle Fourche, which is in the Black Hills, is the center of the nation. So it's kind of just a fun fact there. I would not recommend going directly to Belle Fourche because other than this sign and a statue about it being the geographic center, there's not much there. It's not.
Or you want to see an old ranching town.
An old ranching town. But yeah, it is here.
Nothing much to see there.
Right.
Although there is actually, isn't there an artesian spring there?
Yeah, there's there's artesian well that someone drilled, and then it shoots water out of the ground up in the air. So yeah. So anyway, and so the Black Hills is a tourist destination. And Chris, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, what that means and why that's important.
Absolutely. So as a tourist destination, we have a lot of very small towns in the hills, like Custer and Keystone and Hill City and Pringle, all these little tiny towns that are like pretty much closed until like May 15th. And then they'll open up and then they'll close again around, November. But we're very, very busy in the summer. And I think this is a little bit later in the presentation, but because we're so busy in the summer, hotels are booking up. And I know we'll mention it later, but like it's important if you're coming to convention to make any kind of booking arrangements ahead of time. Anything that you think you may be needing, a rental vehicle, anything like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just showing up is not going to be good.
Right. It may literally be impossible to like plan your trip on the fly, actually.
Right. Yeah.
You can kick this one off, Adam, and maybe I'll talk about the rock climbing super briefly.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, one of the reasons that the Black Hills, it gets millions of people come here a year. And as I mentioned, it's part of it's because we're the only place that isn't flat and boring for hundreds and hundreds of miles. But the other part is that there's a lot of very beautiful scenery, a lot of giant, interesting rock formations. We have six national park units kind of in the bubble of the Black Hills, Badlands, Mount Rushmore, Jewel Cave, Wind Cave, which are two of the longest caves in the world, and Devil's Tower, and Minuteman Missile, which is not a natural wonder, but it's an interesting place to see. So there's a huge national forest here, which encompasses the majority of land in the Black Hills. And then Custer State Park, which we'll look at here in a few minutes. And then rock climbing is a big part of the Black Hills that many people don't think about, but there's a lot of interesting things to see there as well.
Yeah, as Adam mentioned, the rock climbing, the reason I like to mention it, besides that I started as a climber and became a caver, but there is actually a long history in the Black Hills caving of climbers kind of becoming cavers. And really the foundation of the caving culture comes from climbing culture, actually, in the Black Hills. In fact, some of our local pioneers, Herb and Jan Kahn, they actually originally moved here in the 40s just for the rock climbing, and then they became cavers when they learned about Jewel Cave. But there's all styles of climbing if you're into that. We have this picture here shows the Cathedral Spires, which has over 90 named summits within a quarter mile. So all kinds of fun stuff you can do out there.
Right. And then we kind of put some things in here. Oh yeah. So then yeah.
Right. So this
Along
was
with
about the hotels.
Yeah.
Right.
The hotels,
So
yeah. So on that same thing, like I said, that's why people come here. And this is a screenshot from the convention website. So if you go to the convention website and you click on lodging, it'll take you to a page that has it's on there. And we put this in here because at the very bottom of this thing, you'll see where it says dorm rooms. And so on a limited basis, there are dorm rooms available. It's definitely, if you don't want to camp, the best way to go about that, right? So you definitely want to try to get a dorm room if you're going to not camp.
The dorm rooms you'll want to reserve pretty much immediately because they are no longer holding the dorm rooms for convention attendees, and a good number of people have already taken advantage of the dorm rooms, but the South Dakota School of Mines is having a construction project going on, so there are less rooms available, and they have another some kind of summer camp or something that's going to be using dorm rooms. So I imagine it will be filling up very fast. If you haven't, if you're interested in that, I would definitely book right away.
Right.
And that is the School of Mines is right adjacent to the convention site at the Central States Fairground. It's about a 3/4 mile walk.
Yeah.
So very convenient. Yeah. Very, very convenient and much cheaper than the hotels.
Right. And then the same thing I was going to say, the hotels, they're blocked out. So until April 28th, that block should be there. So that's something you can take advantage of as well. So, and camping is free as always, so.
Yeah. Since we have the entire Central States Fairgrounds rented out, I mean, we kind of don't really care where people camp. We will have pretty much designated areas, but if somebody's like, I want to put my tent right here, I think that's okay with us.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it would be better if people stayed like in one central area or two central areas, I guess. There's normally a quiet and a less quiet campground.
Fine. But anyways, and so then we just wanted to highlight some of the things that are in the Black Hills that that are exciting. There's obviously Mount Rushmore, which everyone has seen. If you have not seen it before, it's worth at least driving by. I think
you can see it from the highway, so you don't have to pay to go in.
It is a bit. So there's that. There's the Badlands, which is an absolute must see if you're driving in from the east. My recommendation is to take a Highway 44. You can drive through the Badlands all the way to Rapid City pretty much. So definitely worth doing, worth adding the extra 25 minutes to your drive to go through this. It's pretty amazing. There's Jewel Cave National Monument, which this is for the 200th mile trip, so it's 210 miles long cave. Absolutely go see that while you're here. It's a fantastic cave. Wind Cave National Park, also here. This is a lake, which you probably will not get to see while you're here, but it's a fantastic cave as well. Devil's Tower, which Chris can talk about.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, Devil's Tower is a volcanic plug. It's great for climbing. During the month of June, when convention is held, if you're a climber, there is a voluntary closure to climbing for respect to the Native American observation of the summer solstice. And so, you're not going to get in trouble if you decide you want to climb in June, but we encourage people not to, just because it puts climbing at risk. But you can definitely go visit, and there's nothing, the local tribes don't consider it disrespectful to visit Devil's Tower during the month of June. And it's actually kind of cool because you may see prayer flags around the tree, tied up in the trees, and there's about a 1 mile hiking loop around the tower that you can take. And other really beautiful scenic trails, like This photo looks like it's taken from Joyner Ridge, which is it's a cool area you can hike around and get good views of it.
Yeah.
It's an amazing feature. That is, it's on the prairie, so it's stunning. There's not like other rocks like that around it.
Right. There's the Black Hills National Forest, which I mentioned before, and this is actually Harney Peak, which is the highest point east of the Rockies.
Or Black Elk Peak, as
yes,
it's been recently
if you
renamed.
call it that, you can.
Yeah. Well, it has been recently renamed that.
Yeah, they renamed it recently. Yeah, so this is
hard to get used to the new name.
Yeah, but yeah, so there's a hiking trail up there, and it's super neat to see. There's Custer State Park, which actually gets 2 slides because it has 2 different factors. There's the buffalo herds and the donkeys that people like to pet and feed and stuff that are kind of like crazy animals. And this is the wildlife loop. And then there's also the amazing geology of the park. And again, this leads to a pretty amazing climbing area, which Chris already talked about a little bit before. I don't know if you want to say anything more about that, Chris, but I know you know the people in these photos.
That's just another view from the south of the cathedral spires before we were kind of looking at it from the north. But yeah, this is just small examples of things you can climb. There's endless things to climb here, if that's your thing.
Right. And then of course caves. And so what we have here on one side with the geologic map that's kind of more grainy is a point for every cave in the Black Hills, which obviously they're overlapping there some. So there's about 450 caves on this map on one side, and the other side is a point cloud from LiDAR with 37,000 points on it of holes that were gone by LiDAR that he checked. So there's a ton of caving to do here, lots of project work continuing on forever. If you come and you want to go caving, there's certainly lots of things to do in that respect, and we have a lot of plans for that you can get each day at the trips table.
And this is a great example to show the geology of the area too, because you can see that it's obviously a very small local area uplift with the granite being in the center, and with all those caves forming a ring like that, you can tell that's where the limestone is exposed. So it's pretty cool how we have this like ring of geology going on.
Right. And then we put a couple caves in here because everyone knows Jewel and Wind Cave are the 2 big caves that are here, and one's 210 miles long, one's currently 161 miles long. By the time convention happens, they'll both hopefully be a few miles longer. But Stage Barn Cave is also going to be available for visits during convention. It's in Rapid City, which is very convenient. It's just north of Rapid City, and it's over 10 miles long. So, and it's a super neat cave. And the same with Bethlehem Cave, which when you look at the schedule for a convention, you'll see there's lots of trips to Bethlehem Cave, and it's because there are 3 miles of interconnected walking passage in this cave, which is very rare in the Black Hills. So I always say it's the friendliest cave in South Dakota, and it's also on the 24th NSS Preserve. So if you guys are coming here and you want to see Bethlehem Cave, there's a high likelihood that can get to happen. There's lots of opportunities for this cave. Chris, do you have any thoughts about that? Or
no, just Bethlehem is a really great cave. I mean, it's we've been working on a resurvey project now for about a year, right? Or 2.
Yeah.
And it's been really great to see all the different places in this cave, and it is very friendly, and easy to get to some really cool stuff.
Right. And then Rapid City, I put Rapid City in that list of reasons why people come here. And I live in Rapid City, and that's the place I work. And I don't know if I would say like you have to spend a couple of days in Rapid City, but it is nice having a city that's large enough that you can buy anything you want. And there's hotels and any kind of thing that you want, you can find in Rapid City. There's sporting goods stores. There's all kinds of stuff like that. We don't have an REI though, so if you need something like that, bring it with you.
We have local gear stores. Yeah. So, I mean, there are some big chains, but particularly in the like outdoor gears. We don't have that. We have smaller.
Right.
smaller stores. Caving gear you pretty much won't be able to buy locally except through Final Frontier Sports, or at convention. That we have vendors coming to convention that you'll be able to buy stuff too. But like brick and mortar stores, you won't be able to find much for caving gear in Rapid.
Right. And then finally, within Rapid City, there is Central States Fairgrounds. So this is kind of a fun cartoony map of the fairgrounds. And I put it in here just because if you look in the place where we're going to camp, there are trees on here. People keep asking if there are trees. There are some trees.
Now,
So-
I do want to say this because this is a good time to say it. I know people have been asking about the trees. So June in the Black Hills, it can be a little bit warm, but really like we are almost like a mountain climate. And so it'll be nice and cool at night. And you know, shade is always nice if it does get hot, but you're not going to be scorching in a field, you know. I just want to make sure that people kind of know that.
Right, exactly, yeah. And so here's the 2021 aerial of the site with kind of the event overlay on it. And so as you can see, it's a pretty large site for the venue, right? So the building that's the event center there that's shown kind of in the middle, it's 120,000 square foot building. So that kind of gives you a scale of how large some of the buildings are. And those things that are cars are actually like giant horse trailers, right? So you can think how big this place is, right?
Adam, one thing that should be noted about this too is this year, everything for convention is in one site virtually. I mean, there's a couple things that are not on site, Howdy Party, but pretty much what makes this convention really interesting and it's going to be more fun is that you pretty much almost don't have to leave the fairgrounds.
Right. Yeah.
So
there's no reason you have to, but I guess you can if you want to, right? So
absolutely, yeah. But it's all very conveniently like located together.
Right. And one other thing about the site that's kind of hard to wrap your mind around is that Rapid City is a fairly large city, and this is kind of on the edge of the city. But if you look at this map and you kind of look at what's around the fairgrounds, the buildings to the north are not stores. One of them is a church, and there two are city buildings for like the transit system. So there's very little people in that. And then all around it to the south is the river and kind of a grassy area that's owned by the fairgrounds. So even though it's in town in kind of every direction except for to the east, there's not very much interaction with the surrounding community. So we're kind of nestled in this like green space in the center of town, a little bit, which is kind of nice because you can get to a restaurant in 5 minutes, or you won't see anybody from town if you don't want to. So it's kind of a nice place to be. And so kind of the way it's set up is, if you look, and we'll look at the schedule here, is on the western side of this map where you see the Fine Arts and Creative Arts building and the Soleil Center. It's kind of like a little city, right? So instead of being in a high school like it often is, this is a little city, and each building is, instead of a room, it's a building. So you'll go outside and you'll kind of go into the commons area in between the buildings, and there'll be kind of like walking between shops in a little town, right? Is more of the feel that's going to have. And then obviously the mid-coast stage is there, and that's going to have a large tent over it for the whole convention. So people can mingle in there whenever they want to. And that's where a lot of the shows will be. What do you think, Chris? What else we missed?
Yeah, I think that pretty well covers it. I mean, the event center is gonna, that'll serve as kind of a central location, even though there isn't a whole lot of things like happening in there event wise. The vendors and exhibitors will be in there. There is actually a bar in there. There's restrooms. There's going to be a concession.
Center. Yeah.
Yep, concession stand, Bo's kickstand. And so it'll be a nice sort of central place for people to gather. And all the vertical stuff is happening there.
Right. It's also the most direct way to walk from the majority of the campground area to the sessions. So most people will be walking through there to get to the sessions.
From one side of the building to the other. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So for sure. Also, if you have the capability, I would bring a bicycle to the thing, because if you look on just just to the south of San Francisco Street, there's that little pavement strip running along the river. That thing actually runs the entire length of Rapid City. So it's like I think it's like a 15-mile long bike trail that starts right there and runs along the river the whole way. So you can hop on that thing, get to downtown in just a couple minutes, and it's a pretty nice ride along the river. So it's definitely an asset to the convention to have that right there for us. All right, so so we've talked about where we are. Now we're kind of locked in all the way from the national level to where we are. So now we're going to talk about what's going on every day at convention, right? And I'm starting out all the way out at the 10th because that's when people start coming, as we've learned recently, and they don't leave until they want to, I guess, really. So here we go. So June 10th is the Friday before convention. You can register from 2 p.m. on. If you come before 2 p.m., you may not register. And so, the site that we have is such a big, sought after site. We couldn't get it on Friday, right, before convention, because other buildings were taken. So what we kind of worked out is that my wife Sharon and I, we have 6 acres of land in Rapid City. It's wooded. It's right up against the National Forest. And so anybody who comes that early can stay there, can camp there. We're going to have free beer, which Sharon didn't want anybody to know, but we're going to have that will be available. We'll have free beer, and we have a cave within walking distance of our house. And there's a hiking trail that goes to this giant overlook that's in this picture. So there's a few little things to do for an afternoon, and then Saturday, everyone kind of moves to the real site. But to do that, you have to RSVP by emailing adam@caves.org to get that, because I don't want people just showing up because I want to have the registration packets or know who they are if they don't RSVP. So that's the Friday night plan. Chris, do you have any thoughts on Friday night?
Just how cool the Strata Bowl is. It's this cool limestone round bowl. And actually from the bottom of that bowl, it's historic. They launched a balloon into the stratosphere. It was the first, I think it was the first like flight into the stratosphere. Yeah, it was right out of the bottom of this bowl. And they did it just because like it's so well shielded from like wind and stuff for the launch. It was really well protected. So there's a lot of like hot air balloon and aviation history right there too. And it's very pretty.
And so, okay. And so then the next day, I can get my slide to progress. Okay. The next day, Saturday, June 11th, I'll let Chris take this one.
Sure. So again, we're going to have registration open on Saturday from 3 to 7 p.m. And you'll be able to sign up for cave trips at that time. So yeah, I mean, there won't be much happening there really won't be anything happening, honestly, but it's, you can arrive, get yourself set up. We will have one of the 2 campgrounds will be open. However, it won't quite be, we won't be able to take full control of the site. So they're pretty relaxed at the Central States Fairgrounds. They're not gonna, they're not gonna be like, there's just not gonna be a super smooth transition between the event prior to us and our convention. If you have a preference on which campground you stay in, you may have to move after Saturday night. It's the only way that we could really get it so that people could camp on that night. It's going to be the less quiet campground that is open on Saturday. The other really funny thing is that the event being held prior to our convention is a demolition derby in the event center. And if anybody's really into that, the events manager at the fairgrounds did say that we could probably get people half price tickets. So if anybody wants to go see a demolition derby on Saturday night, we could probably arrange that. Although he was saying it might even be over by that night, because it's like a multi-day thing, and there may be nothing happening Saturday night. or Saturday night will be the last night of it. So that's kind of what's going on Saturday.
Yeah.
And
I think that's it. This is a picture in this slide of the less quiet or ultra noisy campground as it will become throughout the week.
right.
This campground is very close if you look back at the map or look at the map on the website to the stage. So there's gonna be late night music some nights, and if you don't like that, you should not camp here. This is stage side camping.
Saturday night, we'll probably request that it's somewhat quiet.
Right. There's no
because we can't separate out quiet and loud on that Saturday night.
Right. And so then Sunday, the next day, that is when registration opens in earnest at 8 a.m. Like the rest of the week. So people going on the field trips can get registered if they're not there until late on Saturday night. We'll have all the campground spaces open. The RV sites will be open for people to start getting the RVs into who rented those. And the building preparation will largely continue. So if you really want to help do building preparation Saturday and Sunday, come on, we'd love it. Come help us get stuff put together. And the vendors will open this day, they say. So that's kind of the stuff that's going to be happening this day. And if you're on a field trip, all three field trips are happening this day. There's a hydrology field trip with Carl and Manuel, who at the point of recording this, there's still spots open on that. Carl is the geologist of Black Hills National Forest. He is the only person who's ever given a grotto presentation for our grotto that went 20 minutes over the time we're allotted. And the grotto member said, no, let him keep going. He's the only person that's ever happened with.
And then he went another hour.
And everyone was so happy about it because he is hilarious. He is 72 years old, but you would think he's like 45, so that it will be a great time. I don't know where he's taking people, but it will be a hoot.
Let me add on something about the hydrology field trip, because I was going to say, I know the geology field trip is always very popular and it sells out right away. And the geology field trip did sell out. So it is sold out at this moment. But the hydrology field trip, it's going to be very similar to the geology field trip. It's like hydrogeology, and I've noticed that there seems to be some hesitation to sign up for the hydrology field trip. I would put it on par with the geology field trip. All the field trips, honestly, I would put on par. But don't think that the hydrology field trip is going to be not geology. It absolutely will be very geology oriented.
Right. And then the paleo. Oh yeah. And the paleo trip, there are still some spots open. The paleo trip, I believe you get to dig on that some, and you get to go to the mammoth site and go in their vaults, which is very, very cool. I will also say that the paleo trip and the hydrology trip, they're going completely different ways. They're ending up together at Woolly's, which is a woolly mammoth themed restaurant in Hot Springs, and having like a regular lunch, which is pretty nice to have like a hot lunch at a restaurant that's provided. So that's pretty cool. So all of those are going to be a really good time. Cave trips, and this is on here just so everybody's aware. Kelly Mathis is the cave trips coordinator for the whole week. So cave trips will be available. I think Sunday morning is the first day Kelly's going to kind of be there at the table because Saturday cave trips are Friday and it's at my house. Sign up. Sunday cave trips are Saturday from 7 to 3 or 3 to 7. So if you want to like kind of get with Kelly and talk about trips and all that kind of stuff, he'll be there at registration on Sunday for the first time. So definitely take advantage of Kelly.
I know that Kelly was planning on having trying to have some trip leaders just kind of available. And so if there's 3 or 4 people that come in and say, hey, I want to go on a cave trip of about this difficulty, he should be able to kind of like send groups out on the fly even, is his hope.
All right. Okay. And so the next day, so this is when things actually start like kicking off and the sessions happen. And like Chris said,
big day.
Yeah. So like Chris said, many times, I've been to, I think 5 conventions and I've only been caving on one of them. It's because there's so much going on all the time. And as you can see, we've kind of color coded all the buildings here on the schedule so you can kind of see what's going on in each building a little more easily. But we have a lot of buildings and each one of them is full almost the entire week, all day, every day. So there's tons to do, tons to see, tons of things happening. And this schedule is actually posted on the convention website. So you can download it in a PDF and look at it to your heart's content. And so each one of these slides after this will kind of have the highlight of what the sessions are that day. When this day is the geology session. It's kind of like the big session of the day. That and the bog meeting if you're Carol. Or me, who has to go sit in the meeting all day. But yeah, there's lots going on. Chris, do you have other?
No, does your next slide show the howdy party? Or is that at the bottom where I can't see it?
It's the next slide.
Okay. Cool. The howdy party we are very excited about. It's being hosted at the Rush Mountain Adventure Park, home of Rushmore Cave. Rushmore Cave is a very beautiful cave. It's probably out of all the show caves, it's the most scenic. It has a lot of nice speleothems. There's also a roller coaster, which you can see. There's like a ropes course. They're in the process of building a couple more things that I think may be open by the time convention is ready. A couple more. I think there's gosh, what do they call that? There's like a
mountain coaster,
laser. Yeah.
There's like a movie theater where the seats move around a whole bunch and stuff.
Yeah, and you like shoot things on the screen, and yeah, it's super fun. I don't really know what you call that, but
anyway, all those things will be available free of cost to the attendees at the howdy party. So when you show up there, you can go ride the roller coaster or do the ropes course or go in the cave, kind of as much as it's available that night. So that'll be really cool. And there'll be beer from Lost Cabin Brewery there, who's a great sponsor of the convention. It'll be a cave themed beer. I don't think we don't have a name for it yet, but it's going to be there. And live music as always, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Live
and
music.
Afterwards, Chris, what's happening after the howdy party?
After the howdy party, there will be an after party back at the Midcoast stage, back at the fairgrounds, and a band called Modern Folklore. They're associated with one of the local caves called Crystal Cave. So Crystal Cave also kind of, it's in the past been Nameless Cave. That's one of our caves over a mile long. Pretty fun. That cave actually was only originally 350 feet long, and there was a major grotto dig project in it, and now it's over a mile. So that's pretty cool. But the owners of that cave are huge into music, and they actually have a music venue in Rapid City called the Cave Collective. So this band, they own one person owns the Cave Collective, basically. And they'll be playing at the Midco stage for a little late night after party.
Yeah, so we're gonna start off with a bang, and then Tuesday, we're gonna roll into Tuesday. Again, sessions, the big things on Tuesday, U.S. exploration, which is maybe the most highly attended session of the whole convention. So if you want to hear what's happened the last 3 years, kind of in U.S. exploration, you definitely come to that. And one thing to mention, the Soleil Center, where that's held, you'll see that on the schedule a lot of times, and it is the building that the fairgrounds used before, the 120,000 square foot building. So it's very, very large. They just got a grant to completely redo that building and Bridger Steel. So when we are using those buildings, the floor, the walls, everything in them is going to be brand new for our convention, which I'm hoping is going to be pretty cool and pretty nice. So also, please don't mess up the walls or floor because they're brand new. I don't know who did it. But yeah, so those buildings are getting redone kind of for our use. And John, who runs the fairgrounds, is pretty excited about it. So moving on to that night. So that night, the Fellows Reception is at the Journey Museum, which is one of 2 accredited museums in South Dakota. And the other one is the Mammoth Site. So an opportunity to see both those great museums at convention is available. If you're not a fellow or a new member and you want to see the museum, discounted tickets are available for all people who come to the convention. All attendees can go there at a discounted rate all week. And so that's going to be a pretty fun time. Actually, at this reception, we're going to debut the Black Hills Cave and Nature Conservancy cave beer. So there's a beer being made that's going to proceeds will go to the Cave Conservancy even after the convention is over. That's going to get debuted at this event and then be available later in the week for everyone else. So that's kind of a neat thing as well. And then after that, or maybe if that, we'll see how that goes, but the auction is the same night, right? So the auction, and we moved it a little later this year than it has been in previous years, so that the auction can go as long as it wants to, so the auction is kind of like, it's after the fellows reception, and other than open mic, it can just run, if it goes till midnight because people are buying stuff, then it can go till midnight, and we'll keep giving people free beer to make them buy more stuff, so that's kind of the plan there. And then open mic, which I don't know if Chris has a special plan for open mic. Chris is like the music man. I don't know.
Oh, I don't have like a special plan for the open mic. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. You can see the Midcoast stage is right below on the bottom left of the screen. And it's a nice covered stage. And like Adam said, there'll be a tent there. And
yeah, the whole fenced area will be a tent. So
yes, it'll be a super fun open mic for sure.
Yeah. And that little building there with the blue tarp in that picture, with the pointed top, is a bar as well. So I think
a little round building. Yeah,
it's a little round bar. Yeah,
right, there is a bar right next to the music site. So
yeah. So and then Wednesday. So Wednesday is International Exploration, and the special session for this year is Cave and Karst Paleontology is also on Wednesday. And so if you remember the map, Soleil and Bridger are next to each other, and so people can go back and forth between those from the two main sessions all week long. And so the Cave Paleontology session is bringing in scientists from all around the world to this point. It's going to be a full day of talks about cave paleontology. So that's going to be a pretty cool thing. And it's the first time it's happened in 20 years. There's been paleontology talks like this. So it's kind of the special thing of the Black Hills Convention. And then that night, I'll let Chris take it away for this one.
This is our Spelio Olympics, the Spelio Rodeo Olympics. So we are bringing back, by popular demand, John Shelton's and Dave Springhetti, who were the chairs of the 1988 convention, the last time that the convention was in the Black Hills. And they had a whole Wild West theme to their convention. They even had a bank robbery that they did in Hot Springs. We figure times have changed a little bit since 1988, so we cannot host a bank robbery, unfortunately. But we did bring Dave and John back for this one special event. They are our rodeo masters. John is like a real cowboy, and Dave might as well be. I mean, Dave pretty much can do anything. But they, we're going to have, it depends on the weather, inside, outside. We're still working on that. The cool thing is that this convention is being held in a place where we have the option to host a large rodeo outside or inside, which is kind of amazing, actually, that we can do either one of those. But it's going to be really fun. None of the events are going to be anything where you're likely to get hurt. And there's going to be cowboys in the arena, kind of controlling things. So it's going to be, things like pig wrestling and, that sort of stuff. Really fun, lots of fun to do, lots of fun to watch. Doesn't matter which side of things you're on, it'll be a great time. And then, of course, the after party, after the Spelio Rodeo, we have the Campground Party with the terminal siphons. More beer from Lost Cabin will be available. And that's all I have to say about that night.
Yeah.
Is that a picture of John?
It is a picture of John. It's John. It's actually in Mammoth Cave.
Oh, it's in Mammoth.
Yeah, with his cowboy hat on in Mammoth Cave, because that's how he rolls. But and then I don't know if Chris mentioned this because I stepped away for a second, but this is inside of the event center. So this is the arena and the event center, looking kind of across. As you can see, like this is only like we're not even on the edge of the building. It's just a humongous space.
Yeah, it's probably about a third of the event center is what you're looking at.
Yeah,
honestly.
So, yeah, and if you can imagine trying to plan vertical contests with those big fans on the ceiling, it can be exciting. It's a challenge.
We're just going to put one rope on the end of each plate.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Equal way to keep people climbing at the same time, for sure. All right. So then the next day is Thursday. And so that's biospeleology and Spelian history are the big kind of things happening this day. On this day, the Soleil Center, the big place we have most of our main talks, will be shut down as they prepare for the photo salon, which will be that night, right? So again, there's just tons of stuff going on. The cave digging section is meeting this day, so I think they're gonna have a big week digging in the Black Hills. I think so. Just tons of stuff happening that night. And I apologize to Bill Steele if he sees this. I could not find a better picture of him on the internet to put on here. He looks very serious in this. But Bill Steele, if you don't know him, is very fun, and he's going to be doing a storytelling contest at night. And then this is when the BHCNC Carnival is going to be. The BHCNC Carnival, it's a kind of a one-off event. They're going to be selling hot dogs and candy and popcorn to take to the photo salon with you, and they're going to have a fire dancer, which is a still from a video of the fire dancer dancing, and somewhere in the winter he's going to be there. Hazel Barton will be there in a dunking tank. So if you want to dunk Hazel Barton in a dunking tank, this is your opportunity to do that. There's going to be carnival games. It's hopefully going to be a really fun time.
Cotton candy. We just found out today that one of our Grotto members' family has a cotton candy machine. Like,
Yeah.
literally found that out today. We were like, what? Awesome.
There might be cotton candy all week. Who knows?
Yeah.
So
Hey, since we were talking about the digging section, I would really quickly like to mention there is a kind of an official dig of the Pahasapa Grotto Convention and Black Hills called North Cave. And if anybody is very, very interested in digging in this group, comment in the chat and we will make sure to connect you to like the digging coordination, because I think there's going to be digging happening at the probably prior to convention, during convention, and after. Just
yeah.
wanted
Or
to
if
get
you want
that.
to come dig here ever, let us know.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And so then Friday, kind of the two things. Lightning talks will be in the morning. John Shelton's the cowboy we talked about earlier is going to be leading up lightning talks. He has never done that before, so that should be exciting all on its own. And that afternoon is the archaeology session. So again, in the bog meeting. So super fun time. Way to go watch the bog meeting, and that is also happening this day. So yeah, so again, like all week long, there's a ton of stuff happening here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one thing we didn't mention too, before we go on to the onto the banquet, is the cave sketching competition, the sketching competition,
Yeah.
which I think is really fun. I think it's fun because it's a unique thing. So you'll find out about it at registration. But if you're a sketcher, there will be an opportunity to sketch like a very small section of cave. And it should be kind of cool because we're hoping to get a whole bunch of representations of the same part of a cave, and see how different people represent, how many different ways a cave passage can be sketched, basically. And then it'll be judged for a winner.
Yeah, I will also mention on the previous slide I had Thursday's schedule again instead of Fridays, which is why I was pausing when I was talking. But if you go to the website and download the whole schedule, Friday has the right schedule on it. So don't use the slide of the presentation for Friday's schedule. That is Thursdays.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why I was pausing. I was like, oh, this is the wrong day. But anyway, and so then Friday night is obviously the awards banquet. This is a picture of Chris standing in the building that's getting redone that the awards banquet is in. As you can see, again, it's a very large space. It's going to have a giant stage in it. It's going to be a pretty fun time. And then afterwards, we have the first ever official Muchos Garcia's after party.
it depends who you ask if it's Muchos Garcias or Muchas Gracias. Depends which band member you ask, apparently.
We're going with the Garcia. We're going with many Garcias because it's funnier.
Yes, it is. I think that's their real name.
Yeah.
And they're excited. They're actually all Muchos Garcias is actually getting together in Vegas, I think on April 1st, to have like a big rundown practice, like get ready party. So yeah, that should be a really good time.
All right, and then 18th, like we said, the fairgrounds is pretty laid back. So if you're in the tent camping on the site, we just ask you kind of like clean up by 2:30, and obviously clean up anything you brought and anything else other people brought that's in the place, because that'll really help us out. There's still cave trips on this day. You can still sign up for cave trips for the next day, and then June 19th, there'll still be cave trips, but that's it. We're not at the fairgrounds. If you're still there after that, you have to camp in the forest or something. And there is, you can tent camp for free in the national forest for up to 14 days. So if you want to hang out, camp in the forest, by all means do that. But we're not in charge of you at that point. Don't call us. Chris, any thoughts on that?
And then, if you stay around for like 2 or 3 days after convention, after that, then all of the local grotto members will have time to actually, go have adventures with you.
Right.
So totally up for whatever. If people want to go climbing, I'm a climber. I'm willing to go out with people like, once convention's over, if people are still in the area.
All right. But there's more.
That's the perfect picture for that slide.
Yeah. There's very few places in this cave that are like this. This place is called Christmas Pass, and there's no reason to really go there except that it's really cool. All right, so the JSS, there's a full week of JSS programming, and they're going to go to some museums. They're going to the Mammoth site. They're going to Evans Plunge, which is a hot springs heated swimming pool. So they're going to caving at Bethlehem Cave. They're going to Custer State Park Outdoor Campus, which is a local state-run facility that teaches kids how to shoot like bows and arrows and different kinds of things like that, and go fishing. And they're going to do some sketching and vertical work classes. So it's a full pack schedule for them as well. And that schedule will be up on the website hopefully in the next week or so, once a couple of transportation things are finalized. What do you got, Chris?
That's it. That's all I have about
JSS. That's always good. Yeah.
No, the JSS, that pretty much covers it all.
All right, and then the salons. If you're thinking, why are these photos here? This makes no sense for the salons. This is the two sides of the salons building, right? So the salons is actually in a building that's called the Fine Arts Building at the fairgrounds, and it was built for kind of fine art shows. And even though there was like a book selling thing going on when we were there visiting for these pictures, it's a really nice space because they have a lot of the materials the salons need to hang stuff up already in there. Plus, the front of the building actually makes sense when you look at it. It says Fine Arts on it real big.
It's really nice.
So just like every convention, all the salons will be there, cave ballads to t-shirts. Everything's going to be there. So it's a great opportunity to go see some great cave art from around the country. All right, and then just a few things, so the photo salon is accepting entries until April 10th, but they're all cavers, so I'm sure if you submit something on April 11th, they won't tell you to go away. Hard to say. And the call for papers is out, right now. So if you want to present in any of the sessions that you see on the schedule, obviously, I highly recommend you go to the website, download the schedule off there, look at it, and if there's something you want to come present on that you're proud of that you've done, or just want to educate other people about, please do that. Contact those people that are running those sessions.
I believe that is only, I believe we're only accepting abstracts until the 31st of March.
Right, and then some of those sections will push that back. I think conservation and management will accept them late. But yeah, so and then after that, it's up to the section chairs of each of those sessions. So. All right, and then we can't forget our great sponsors, which I'll let Chris talk about.
Yes, absolutely. So we have a lot of fantastic sponsors for this event. Are really actually one of our biggest sponsors is Lost Cabin, which is a brewery right in Rapid City. We've worked with them for a long time. We've been talking about them making a cave beer for like years, for like probably 5 years. And so when this convention came up, they stepped right up to the plate and they were like, we're going to donate a bunch of beer to you guys. We're going to make sure this is a great event. So they've been a fantastic local sponsor. Camp, some of you know them from like, they're more known for like climbing gear, but they are donating, quite a bit of equipment to the JSS, which is really wonderful. Rush Mountain Adventure Park, they're sponsoring our use of the whole park. So that is fantastic. I mean, they're a very busy park and they're closed down for the entire night for our event, for the Howdy Party. And then we have a few other sponsors who gave money. The Black Hills Parks and Forests Association, which is a local cooperating agency for the national parks. So they basically run the national park gift bookstores. And the Mammoth site, of course, which is a local paleontological dig. Very exciting. And they are, Adam can really maybe mention this, but they're like redoing their whole visitor center with the cave themed exhibit. And then the Cave Conservancy for the Virginias and the Cave Conservancy Foundation, and of course Rapid City. So
that's right.
We've had a lot of great sponsorship for this event.
And I'm sure there'll be more before. And so if you're watching this video a month from now and you're not on here, I apologize. But this is pre-recorded. So if you sponsor us tomorrow, unfortunately, you're not on this slide yet. So, all right. And so finally, that's kind of the end of the show here. And I think we're ready for questions. I put some stuff on here. So, if you have registered yet for convention, get registered here. And I put the Grotto website on here. So if you're trying to figure out what cave gear you need to go caving here, or what's going on with the geology here, or that kind of thing, there's a lot of information on the Grotto website you can find about that as well, because that's how people cave here. I will say this to you, just to get ahead of the gear thing: if you think you want to bring a cave suit here to go caving, do not do that. You do not need a cave suit by any means. Just don't even worry about that. We don't wear them here. As you can see from the photo, everyone is wearing a t-shirt. It doesn't have to be black. I don't know why they're all black.
Well, I demonstrated that because I'm wearing a green shirt.
Yeah, that was Chris's first trip, though.
Yeah, that was my first camp trip in Jewel back in 2012, 10 years ago. But some people will counter what Adam said about, don't bring a cave suit, and they'll say, well, I get cold really easy, or what about wet caves? And the answer is there are no caves here that are wet. I mean, there are some that have puddles, okay, but you can avoid the puddles. You will never get wet in a cave here. It's pretty much impossible. There's only one actual stream cave in the Black Hills, and nobody will be going to it during this convention. I mean, if you want to, no one should go to it. If you really want to torture yourself and go into this cave, talk to us. But I don't think you really want to go.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, the cave temps are in the upper 40s to even low 50s. And so if you're not moving around much, a lightweight long sleeve shirt is more than adequate to keep warm.
Right.
If you're just sitting in one room. But yeah, we're happy to answer any questions about caves, cave gear, and I believe that's the end of the slideshow, right, Adam?
Right. Yeah. So Chris, how about this? There's some questions in the chat, right?
Right. Yeah. Let's go through those first to get them clear.
And to make it the least awkward, how about this? I will read one to you. We'll just alternate reading them to each other. That way, it's not like because we have to say the question, right? That way. Mm-hmm. Okay, Chris. Here's the first one. Will there still be tent space for people who don't reserve motels?
Yes, absolutely. So tent space, I mean, like I said, we have a couple large fields at the convention site, and it's camp wherever. You'll be able to find a spot. We have plenty of space. No need to reserve it. There's no way to reserve it, even if you wanted to.
Yeah, it's unlimited. There's unlimited space for that.
Yes. Okay, question for you, Adam. Do you know the days/hours of food trucks?
We don't know that yet. One of the things with the food trucks that's a little bit complicated is that there's like a food truck co-op in town, kind of. So they're like working on a rotation, so we have different food trucks every day, which is really cool. And I think that we're going to kind of target them for kind of the lunch time, to come for lunches constantly. And then there's a vendor that will have breakfast every day available at the thing as well. So there's also, like, in the event center by the vendors, there will be a food vendor there as well. So he's going to have a taco bar and biscuits and gravy and that kind of stuff throughout the week as well. So there'll kind of be different food options. And like we said, you're not far from downtown Rapids. So there's also, if you want to leave for half an hour, you can get food pretty quickly that way as well. So, but we don't have a schedule for food trucks. That probably won't be available until, at registration, we'll probably have a food truck schedule or something.
Right.
All right, Chris, here you go. Which of the campgrounds is open Saturday?
The Less Quiet Campground, but on that night it's going to be the All Campground. So again, we will ask people to be extra respectful of each other that night. And there will be, if people want to stay up late party, and there's other places to do that, and there's bars and stuff like that in town.
All right. The next question is for Carol.
Yeah, I know. I was hoping I didn't get that one because I was like, I'm not sure. Carol, are significant others allowed to accompany fellow members to the reception?
The official answer is no. Now, if you've got the space to allow more, maybe we can work something out and we'll have to discuss it. But normally it is just the person who has the fellowship and the new members, and we probably will have a lot of those because they haven't been able to come for the last 2 years.
Right. So I think we're going to go with probably not.
Yeah.
Unless there's a special circumstance. All right, Chris, here's your question. Did Hazel agree to that?
She did. I didn't. I'm assuming you guys asked her.
She said she would. She said she was actually going to wear some kind of special outfit the whole time, like a clown or something.
Cool.
Hazel is on the board of directors of the Black Hills Cave and Nature Conservancy, so she's kind of forced to help.
Cool. All right, Adam. Will there be convention organized trips to Wind and or Jewel Caves, or is this something we need to schedule on our own?
Okay, so if you want to go on a normal, walking tour of the cave, I think that you should probably just go and get in the queue to do that with the normal public. That's probably the easiest way to do that.
You should reserve it online for Jewel, though.
Yeah.
Because they've been selling out already.
Right. So yeah, definitely get the normal channels for that. There is no way for anyone to schedule an off-trail trip, I think, outside of convention during that week. So we are working on that heavily. We actually were talking about today on getting that kind of like firmed up. But the plan is, and at this point, the agreement is with the parks that they are going to allow us to do trips of some sort off trail in the cave and some sort of educational trips with some sort of point to them, I think. So those will be available through the trips table starting on Friday night to set those up. And the hope is for there to be trips for kind of a 10, 11-day span there, bridging convention. So the weekend before, weekend after. I've told Kelly I would lead trips the weekend after in the cave. So the plan is that, yes, if you have that inclination, but there's not going to be a ton of them. So if that's what you want, you need to make that a priority to kind of like get yourself on those lists early.
Right. One thing else I would say about seeing Wind and Jewel Cave, like Adam said, it is going to be at least somewhat limited. And if you would really like to see those caves, get your name on the list early. But what else I'll add is that everybody around the country knows Wind and Jewel Cave. But we have a lot of great caves here that people don't know about. And so I think you'll be also very happy doing cave trips in some of our smaller local caves. Many of them are similar to Wind and Jewel. If you want to see all the famous calcite spar of Jewel Cave, you can go to Jasper Cave, and it's just like Jewel Cave in terms of its spar. And it's Jasper Cave essentially is Jewel Cave. It's just the connection is too tight for a person to fit through. They come within like a quarter mile of each other, and there's strong airflow in Jasper Cave. So my point is that there's like other caves that are jewel cave, right? That have the same features that you don't have to go to Jewel Cave to see. Davenport would be another cave that you could go to if you can't get on a Jewel Cave trip. That would be another one that would be, impressive for you.
Yeah, Davenport, we're looking at a restoration kind of project with some graffiti on, and it's a cave that is fantastic. It's also spar, and it's immediately very large rooms. I actually almost put the map in this presentation because it's like such a neat thing. There's only 8 people get to go a day to do restoration work in there. So even if you don't like doing restoration, well, you should go anyway and do some restoration to see it.
Right.
So
I would agree with that. Trips to Davenport is actually permanently closed. So this is an exception that people get to go at all.
Right.
A lot of members of our grotto have never been there at all. So,
right. All right. Next question, Chris.
Yeah.
Last year's conference got canceled due to lack of people signing up. Their words, not mine. How are we doing on numbers for this year?
So for this year so far, we actually have over 300 people registered for the convention already, which is really a great point to be at this time. A huge portion of people will be registering between now and May 1st, which is when our early bird registration ends. So yeah, I think we're looking at, a solid 1,000-person convention, which is I think that's a good number to be looking at. It doesn't appear with like rising gas prices, it doesn't appear that numbers have gone down at all. In fact, daily registrations are picking up right now. Things are looking good. Also, I will add, no matter where you stand on COVID, the state of South Dakota will never force this convention to not happen. And that is sort of significant. There will be no worry about that. So that politically, we won't be forced to not have convention if COVID somehow picks up again between now and convention. All right, we'll go on to the last question in the chat and then see if there's any in-person questions. Adam, how about need for vertical gear? Are many caves vertical and require SRT, or is most caving in the Black Hills horizontal?
Yeah, so there's almost no need for vertical gear in Black Hills caves unless you just want to do that. So we actually put a cave called King Tut on the list of caves that people can go visit during convention with the forest, specifically because it needs vertical work, and we thought people might want to do that. So unless you really want to do that, there's no need for that. Even in Jewel Cave,
Davenport entrance, some people do SRT for that.
You could do it in Davenport's
do.
entrance. Yeah, what we usually do with Davenport, we put a cable ladder there. So if you're more comfortable being on rope than a cable ladder, that's kind of a personal choice. It's not a very big drop though, So, but yeah, that is available. So I mean, it's kind of up to you. But I think you could certainly come here, go caving, and not use vertical gear, because I go caving at least once a week, and I almost never take vertical gear. So even in Jewel Cave, there's only one place that you have to use vertical gear in the whole travel route. So.
And it's like 10 hours into the cave.
Right. So, any other questions? I bet Deborah has questions.
Yeah.
I always have questions, Adam.
I know.
Deborah, I don't know if people are allowed to unmute themselves if they want to ask a question, verbally or not.
That I think that's fine at this point in time. So if there's anyone in the audience who would like to ask a question, go ahead and unmute. We'll try to do this one at a time and see how this goes. And if not, we'll go from there. Does anyone else have any questions? I do. Do you mind talking and sharing some of the JSS events? Because I know people are thinking about bringing their kids, and I know you have a lot of stuff being planned already.
So I know we are looking at working with the vertical section. They're planning to host a this one's going to be really fun. They're actually planning to host between the younger and older kids well, they'll teach them how to build a hall system, and then they're going to host a tug of war and let the younger kids have the hall system advantage, just to kind of show how a hall system really provides that much extra force. So yeah, that'll be really fun. I know there will be opportunity for rope work, of course. I'm not going on in order of days. If people want to know what day certain things are, let me know. I know they're going to be caving with the president at Bethlehem Cave, which is going to be a lot of fun. Let's see, they're going to Custer State Park. They'll probably go on the wildlife loop, do some hiking up there. What else am I not thinking of, Adam?
Yeah, so I can actually go back. We had a let me go back to my thing here. Yeah, so and one thing, like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, is that if I can find the, sorry, I like opened all the windows a little bit differently so I could see better. There we go.
How do you look for that? Alan Rush asked, are there any pre or post convention camps expected?
Somebody else asked about camps, and I'm not sure. Somebody else emailed that recently, and I'm wondering about what kind of camps we're talking about.
Yeah. So often there's like planned, there's like planned camps, like a post convention place. Like one time we did it here in the Black Hills. People came here, caving in the Black Hills, kind of on the way to the Colorado convention. I don't know any of those that have been like officially planned at this point. Actually, so I mean, like kind of Chris mentioned, if people want to do like a digging pre-trip, we can set you up to work on a pretty exciting project for a while for your post-convention, but that's not.
Yeah, and if you're looking to like camp and socialize and drink beer in a beautiful place near the digging, you can do that too. So out in a nice limestone area.
And Brooklyn asks, how awesome is it going to be?
Well, Brooklyn, you only wanted to sign up for the last day of JSS, so not that exciting for you.
Right. Are there any other questions?
Oh, she put a sad face.
Brooklyn, I'll take you somewhere. Don't worry.
Brooklyn is my daughter. She's on somewhere in my house on this call.
There is another chat question about camping the weekend after at the fairgrounds. So again, was it Saturday?
Saturday at 2:30.
By 2. Yeah. So I mean, you might be able to play it by you might be able to stay Sunday, but I would not count on that at all. I would not plan on that. They are very laid back, but like, I mean, basically when we asked like when do we need to be out, he's like, I don't know, but obviously everybody can't stay indefinitely, right? So we have to put a time that you have to leave, right? So I get.
What about camping and say?
Take that at your own risk, how you want to use that information.
Yeah, I mean, and kind of like I said, I think that if you want to keep camping the Black Hills after Saturday, like after that Friday night thing, and you leave Saturday from the campground, like I said, you can go camp
Custer State Park.
Yeah, or you can camp in Black Hills National Forest for free for 14 days in one spot. So I think Chris did that for a whole summer. So I mean,
I did.
You can certainly do that primitive camping indefinitely there, and then you can go caving and hanging out with Chris and climbing and whatever you want to go do.
There's there are all kinds of like very easy, like good gravel roads that go to places that see like very little traffic, where you can like just pull off the side of the road on a flat spot in a field and just camp. Like plenty of places like that. And if you need to know about a place like that, feel free to reach out to us.
Are we allowed to bring our own cave gear? That's a question.
Are we, I
And
mean,
then in the chat.
are we talking for white nose?
Yes, I think so.
So
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Yes. So a little bit of it depends on where you're going to go. So the National Forest Service and the National Park Service each have different rules on white nose, right? So if you're going to go to Joyner Ridge Cave, there are a little bit different rules than there are if you're going to go to a Forest Service cave or a private cave. The Black Hills, and this is kind of in the updates section on the convention website. The Black Hills has had PD for at least, I think, 3 or 4 years now. White nose came pretty quickly after that, the first case of it. And so if you go caving in any cave in the Black Hills, you should consider that your gear has been exposed to that, right? So really a little bit more of it depends upon what you're taking your gear back to. So I don't know where you folks live, but if you live somewhere that doesn't have white nose, I would not bring your gear here. But if you do, then we're going to have a decon station available. We're going to have decon kits that you can take to caves with you to follow the national white nose procedures. So it's a little bit of a personal choice there, depending on what you want to do with your gear and where it's been and where it's going. So sorry, I can't just say yes or no, but I guess it's a maybe.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'm sure Owner Rep 1 would appreciate it if everybody gets bought all their gear from them at convention. William Shrewsbury will be very happy about that. Yes, absolutely. Buy all your gear here.
Well, Carol, Chris, and Adam, thank you for sharing all this information with us tonight. It was very informative.
Cool. Thanks everybody for coming to learn about convention. We're excited to see all of you. We're excited to have a great time in Rapid City with you all.